Okay, so somebody wrote in a question that I think is it's worth discussing on the show. Someone asked basically, hey, the products for my network marketing company are a more expensive price than the rest of the similar products in the marketplace. Like, how am I supposed to sell it when we're literally more expensive than the next company? Great question. Let's dive in.
12 years ago, I began using the internet to recruit, which resulted in over 1,400 people in my personal downline without using any traditional or outdated methods. Now I've decided to burn it all down and start over in a different business. Follow me as I document what it takes to auto-recruit my next 1,000 people into my own downline from scratch. I'm Steve J. Larson, and welcome to Season 2 of Secret MLM Hacks Radio.
All right. So, I love this question. First off, immediately, and I'm hoping that this person is coachable as I give the answer here. There needs to, okay, if you sell stuff that is more expensive than other companies that sell a similar thing as you do, that doesn't mean that it's any kind of disadvantage. And I really need you to hear that and own that and believe that, because the question itself, there's two different angles we could go down with this. The first is that, hey, number one, how do you actually do that? Like the tactics of it. But the second part is, I can already hear that there's some money false beliefs going on, and some assumptions happening that are just not correct. Let me just give you a couple examples of this. All right. So I have a friend who's very rich, and he's extremely rich, and he's I've been in the store with him. We'll go to the store or whatever, and he doesn't know what he wants. He's not a shopper. Literally, he'll walk in and he'll be like, some store clerk will walk up and he'll be like, "What are you looking for today?" And he'll be like, "I don't know." I'm talking about Russell. So Russell will be like, I don't know. Here's my problem. What do you have for that? And it's so funny because the store, I've watched this happen so many times where Russell will be like, "Hey, they start pitching him. Well, there's this option, and you can save a little bit of money, and there's this option, and the features in this one are a little bit different, and there's this option." And it's funny because I'll literally just watch him get frustrated, and I've watched him interrupt store clerk and department store people, and it'd be like he gets so frustrated, and it'd be like, just give me the most expensive one, and he'll literally say that, and I can't blame him. At some point, as a category of earners out there, they don't really care about the price. They're just trying to get a solution and get out of there. You know what I mean? And what's funny is it's actually a super similar reality in the rest of the business world. The people that I have the hardest time with are the people that I sell the cheapest things to. Hands down, bar none. No contest. That's a really big thing to understand. It is easier for me to sell someone a $100,000 package than it is for me to sell somebody a $1,000 package. It's literally more work. It's crazy, and it sounds backwards. And I remember the first few times I was taught this, I was like, I kind of called BS, I was like, there's no way that's true. That's ridiculous. But it's true. There's a category of the market out there, and it's very big. It's not like you're not finding a needle in a haystack. And if you're looking around at your friends and family, and you're like, but I can't pitch my friends and family something that's more expensive, yeah, then maybe not. That's totally fine. I'm saying in the bigger broad, it means you got to expose yourself to more people. Your warm market needs to expand. We literally talk about that in my programs. But recognize, though, that there are people out there who absolutely do not care about the price. They don't. I'm like 50% care, 50% don't. It depends what it is, and we're all that way on something. If you think you're always like, I am always super thrilled. Like most people are that way about something. There's something in their life they don't really care what the price is. They just want the thing. They want, or what it is. Funny enough, is it'll be like on vacations. I kind of spend a bit, but I don't really spend that much in the rest of my life. I just don't. Does that make sense? So it's funny because Marley and I will be out, like, we don't go on tons of vacations. We're just in that season of life. We got 3 kids, 3 girls, we're in that season of life right now. They got sports and they got, there's stuff going on. But it's so funny because when we do go on vacations, I'm there for the experience, man. And I don't care if it costs, $200 to rent a jet ski for 30 minutes. I'm going to go get a jet ski and I'm going to go see what's on the other side of that reef. You know what I mean? Like, does that make sense? We're all that way about something. And so if your network marketing product is more expensive than the next person's, that, funny enough, if you just flip your mentality about it, is actually a strategic advantage. It's not a bad thing. It means you're going to go after the portion of the market that is probably easier to work with. It means you're probably going to go after the portion, the portion of the market that is like, that doesn't fight you on price, that doesn't fight you on the fact that it's going to get rebilled every month. The fact that makes sense. Like Ferraris, people know that that's a more expensive brand. You imagine if you walked into like a Ferrari store and you sat down and you sat down in a Ferrari and you're in there, and all of a sudden the salesperson is like, sit down in the car, let's go test drive the Ferrari, and then you get out of the car and the salesperson's like, we have this really awesome deal going on right now. This Ferrari, $500, but you got to buy it right now. You wouldn't say, woo, that's awesome, I'm so excited, this Ferrari is $500. Oh, thank you, person. Thank you, Ferrari, for letting me have this Ferrari for $500. That's not what would happen. You would have this initial knee-jerk reaction. You'd probably go, what's wrong with it? Right? Are you just trying to offload a piece of crap to me? Like, are you giving me a headache? You see what I'm saying? Like, if there's certain, like, because your product price is a little bit higher than the next person's, my guess is it's not that much higher. My guess is that someone has literally just looked at it in the past and been like, well, it's more expensive than that. How come I got to buy this versus that? Don't sell that person. Customers are not created equally. They're not. Go after the portion of the market that sees that and goes, sweet. Yeah, I really don't care. Hey, I'm out of time. But hey, go ahead and ship that to me every month, would you? That'd be great. They exist. Those people exist too. They're all over the place. And it may not be your friends, it may not be your family, and that's okay. That means you got to be a marketer and you got to get out and you got to find those people who are willing to purchase stuff like that. And I have found that selling things to people who are already rich is one of the fastest methods to changing your own life. They already have money. Right? Someone asked me this a little while ago. Like, what would you do if you started over? And I was like, I would, without question, obsess over selling expensive things to people who are rich. There you go. Well, someone doesn't like that price. I'm like, then don't sell that person. So does that make sense? So first off, it's a mentality piece you have to like get over. Thinking that it's any kind of disadvantage. It's not. It means you're going to go after the portion of the market that doesn't care about price, which usually is the better customers. They don't freak out on you. They're not the ones you got to like call because they didn't rebill that month. You know what I mean? Like, it actually solves a lot of problems when you just sell people who have a lot of money expensive stuff. Literally every person that I've ever... This happened yesterday, all right? Marley and I were trying to be nice to this person. We let them come into our program, not cheaper, but we let them like kind of defer some payments and stuff, like, and put them off a little bit, you know, because we were just trying to help them out and be nice. And they've been the hardest clients I have had in years. Like years. Like I about like lost it yesterday. And I was like, why is this happening? I was like, oh yeah, we bent over backwards to give this person every price discount we possibly could. And because of that, we also attracted a scenario where they think we're going to save them. That's not my job, right? I'm not a savior, I'm a guide. Does that make sense? I'm not Frodo, they're Frodo. I'm Gandalf. Does that make sense? That's my stature with everything that I sell. But when you start selling cheap stuff to cheap people, and they exist, right? A lot of times, and we all know, and maybe like we've all probably recruited, I've done it too, I'm not judging anyone, all right? But we've all probably recruited that person that they wanted to be saved. They weren't trying to save themselves. That makes sense? It's like really big to understand this principle that one of the best ways to change your life is to learn to sell the slightly more expensive product to the slightly more successful category of people. That's when it's fun. Changes everything. Changes your life. Changes your vibe. You wake up in the morning without a million voicemails on your phone of complainers and people who, you know, you got to go resell them into the thing or whatever. And I know you know what I'm talking about. Like, this is a super key element to understand with this. So first and foremost, you're going to go in and you're going to change your mentality about it, that it's a bad thing at all. It's not a bad thing. It's a gift. It's a blessing. It's your network marketing business might understand this, and that's why they position themselves as slightly more expensive. In fact, I even teach this on my stages. Every time I do an event and where I'm teaching pricing strategy, because there's a lot to it. One of the biggest things that I like to point out to people is that what I like to do is figure out what the prices are in the marketplace, and then I like to be 10% more expensive than kind of like the average of the options that I see out there. Like the majority, I don't like to position myself as the cheapest. I like to position myself as slightly more expensive than the next person. And I do that across multiple industries and markets. For the exact reason that I'm talking about right now, which is that you get the better customers. The problem children are the cheap children, truly. And it literally changes your life. Not only do you, you tend to attract a better customer that doesn't fight you tooth and nail every step of the way. You know, they tend to stay subscribed longer. They tend to take more action, actually. They tend to be a little bit more coachable. And you make more money. You know, you literally got to sell less units. There was a lady I was coaching, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago. Wow, it was way longer than that. My gosh. Anyway, it was a long time ago. This lady was selling dog food. And that was her business. And she had a business where every morning she would get up and she would home make dog food, and that's what she would go sell. And it was awesome, you know. And she was good at it, and she goes, "Hey, I'm so excited to be a millionaire." And I was like, "Can we do some math on this?" I don't remember what her prices were. This is so long ago, but just listen to the point. She was selling this homemade dog food, you know, I don't remember what it was, like $30 or $40, you know, and I was like, how much does it cost you? So we figured out what her profit was. And then I just took her profit, you know, and divided it, you know, $1 million divided by her profit to show her how many units she was going to have to move to make $1 million. And it was over Zoom. And I remember just kind of like watching her face, just kind of like, huh. I'm like, yeah, there's like a million ways to make $1 million. The easiest way is to sell $1 million product once, right? But, you know, I'm not saying that it's improbable. That stuff exists. I actually put out $1 million pitch to someone 2 months ago. We'll see what they say. You know, you could sell 10 six-figure packages. That's a way, right? You're probably going to find a few more. It might be a little bit easier to find that category of buyer compared to the $1 million buyer, but it's important to know that both exist, right? Right? Does this make sense? I could sell 1,000 $1,000 packages, and I've done that many times now, because I like to have a little bit of more like consistent sale volume. You know, I'm like, all right, I want to try and sell a couple a day versus one a year. You know what I mean? Like, it just psychologically, how hard it is when you're not getting any sales for a long time. Like, you're trying to like eat out of one sale. Like, so for me, so anyway, there's a lot of ways to make a lot of money, you know, but profit is not created equally, and does not come at the same speeds. And I actually think that you've been handed a gift by being more expensive than the majority of the rest of the other people in the marketplace. It means that you will have to upgrade the customer you seek. It's got to be a slightly more affluent customer. And I got to tell you, they might be a little bit harder in the beginning to find, which is not true, actually. They're almost easier. But it might feel that way. That's why I'm saying it that way. But funny enough, they're probably going to stick longer. The stick rate is higher. I got people that have been on subscription for things that I sold years ago, and they're fine being billed. You know, guess what? The cheap people, they're the ones that nickel and dime the heck out of me. Like till death do I part. You know what I mean? They're the ones that like look at every single thing inside the offer, and then they message and like, but does it do this? But does it do this? But what about this? But I just need some kind of guarantee. I'm like, there is a guarantee, but I need some kind of like, what kind of risk reversal is there? What kind of like, oh my gosh, shoot me. I hate selling those people. If I can tell someone's that kind of person, I just don't pitch them. And I've done that a lot. In fact, literally yesterday, Marley and I were like, I think we might need to cut ties with this person because we are literally uncorking every stop for them. And it's just like they want us to actually pave a yellow brick road while doing their taxes and brushing their teeth for them and straight up wiping their butt at the same time. And it's like, what is wrong with you? You know, buyers are not created equally. And one of the easiest ways to upgrade your buyer is to upgrade your price. Done. Not changing anything else. Not trying to add more to your offer. Not trying to like nothing else. Just literally upgrading your price. It's one of the first things I do with people when they are when they become a client of mine is I just raise their price a little bit. You know, like there's no emotional difference between certain price points. You know what I mean? Like when you're buying a house and they're like, hey, I don't know, let me just make up some numbers. Like, let's say you're buying a house that's $500,000, right? And then all of a sudden the seller comes back and they actually want $505,000. There's no emotional difference with that volume, with that extra $5,000, but they just made an extra $5,000. Does that make sense? It's the same thing between different price points. Like there's no emotional difference between $7 and $9. Not really. You know, there's not a huge emotional difference between, I don't know, like what, 21,000 and 23,000. So I'll go in and I'll just raise the price just a little bit. It allows them to afford to find customers faster because they can use that money in ads or whatever, marketing, whatever, or they just pocket it, you know, and make more money. And funny enough, the people that fight tooth and nail are the ones we're trying to avoid, and they actually fall away because we raise the price just a little bit, not even a lot, just a little bump, So anyway, I feel like I'm really just harping on this, but I wish someone told me this, you know, 12 years ago when I started being an entrepreneur. It was like, it took me a long time to like kind of get over it. And the reason is because I had money false beliefs. You know, all it did was expose to me where my mentality was broken, you know, and I had to get over this thought that cheap equals value. Cheap does not equal value. Value equals value. Value and money are not the same thing. Value and price are not the same thing. And your perception of value, right, is not their perception of price. They're not the same thing. I did a whole event on, well, not just this, but I talked about this. I did an event in 2019. I had 650 people fly in for an event that I did at downtown Boise. It was a super fun event. Really enjoyed it, but it was one of the biggest points I was trying to help people understand is that, like, don't be afraid to charge for what you sell, you know, because your perception of price is not their perception of value. There we go. I said it right that time. So what do I mean by that? Value means usefulness. If someone comes to me and says, hey, Steve, I would love to build all of your funnels for you, and I'm going to give you kind of a standard market rate out there of, $10,000 per funnel. Well, I am a funnel builder, so I don't value that. Does that make sense? So that person might walk away thinking that, $10,000 is the wrong price. But remember, our perception of price is not the reflection of their perception of value. Does that make sense? So because it might be more valuable for, like, my friend to just walk in the store. He doesn't need to know the differences between all the different models. He doesn't need to know the differences between the different features of things. In fact, that's kind of freaking annoying to him. Hey, what's the most expensive one? I'm going to make the assumption that they're cocky and expensive because they know they're good, and I don't need to know the details. Just freaking give it to me. I got to get out of here. Does that make sense? That the value is the speed to solution at that point. I don't need to know all the does that make sense? People will walk up and they'll be like, yeah, but this one is the exact same and it's cheaper. There's a category of the market that doesn't freaking care. They don't care. In fact, learning about all the ins and outs about the product is annoying and becomes a reason to not purchase. There was, Marley and I have been shopping wedding venues, right? I officially proposed, and it's been so funny to go to these different wedding venues and watch the different pitching styles because some of them just suck at it. This lady, so the most expensive option in our case, the reason we haven't chosen them is because they're so freaking annoying to work with. We're like, hey, what wedding dates do you have available? And they'd be like, well, what wedding date do you want? And we're like, no, just give us some options. And then they'll be like, okay, now it's time to choose your food. And then they would be like, well, what food do you have? And they're like, well, what food do you want? We're like, they weren't giving any options. Like, sales is helping somebody make a choice. And so you do that by presenting choices. But if it's like open, anyway, I'm not going to dive into like sales psychology and stuff right now, but it was so annoying by the end of it. And it turns out that they were the most expensive option by a crap ton. Like, and in that case, we would have figured it out. I would have sold something. I would have, whatever. Like, I really loved the venue. It was an amazing thing. It was awesome. But, oh my gosh, because the sales process was so awful, in that case, no, I didn't want it. All right. It's like your sales ability is one of the. So I'm getting into like part 2 of this question now, right? Part 1, my answer, first part is switch your mentality, because that's actually a benefit that you're more expensive. It's not a bad thing. It's actually going to bless your life. It's not a bad thing at all. It's a strategic advantage. It's not a disadvantage by any stretch. So then how do you sell something when it's a little bit more expensive? Well, I will say that just rudimentary sales skills really matters when you're starting to be the most expensive option on the block. Just like standard sales, I taught a bunch of network marketers yesterday on a live thing, and I was trying to point out to them that network marketing and multi-level marketing is misnamed. In the rest of the business world, marketing means lead gen. But what is it that you run out of really quickly in network marketing? Leads. As soon as you talk to your friends and family, it's like, well, what do I do now? Right? I ran into that really, really heavily during my first network marketing experience. And most people do, right? It's like, they're just dead in the water. You're like, I don't have anyone to talk to. And I was like, well, then this shouldn't be called network marketing. It should be, let's call it the real name it should be. It's actually network sales, right? What network marketing does is it pitches like crazy. Does that make sense? So this industry is misnamed because the biggest thing people struggle with is leads. And it's like, that's actually the only way to measure marketing is lead gen. And if that's what we're all struggling with, but we're not terrible at pitching, this should be called network sales, right? Multi-level sales. Anyway, I'll get off that high horse. But so the way that you do it, there's two parts to the second part of this. The first thing is that you got to have some just rudimentary sales skills. That doesn't mean you got to be a fluid talker or you got to it's none of those things that Hollywood portrays a salesperson as. It's not who can say the most interesting line. Sales is about asking good questions. That's it. My sales guy for my real business, he's closed over $100 million on the phone, and he's not like a fluid talker. In fact, he's kind of hypey, and he just asks good questions, and at the end the person has handed the credit card. That's it. It's about good questions asking. So that's the first part of it. The second part about selling something that's slightly more expensive is you got to be good at storytelling. Storytelling is still the square one skill of all business success. Everything else is basically an appendage to being able to tell an adequate story. You don't even have to be amazing at it. Just good enough, right? So anyway, hopefully that's helpful. There's a lot of traffic on the drive home from dropping my kid off at school, so I was able to go a little bit longer on this one. But anyway, I hope that was helpful though. Like, my largest concern when I saw the question was, I was like, oh, this is not a disadvantage for you to be more expensive. It actually is one of the best blessings, but it doesn't feel that way at first. And I get that because I went through that. But how can we change this for you? So I'm hoping that helped. And I'm hoping that you are, to the person who wrote in that question, I'm hoping that you're seeing that it's probably one of the fastest ways to change your life. Learn to sell expensive stuff to rich people. That's it. You want to really explode it? Then go learn how to use ads and get a bunch of leads that way, right? And if you're like, I don't have money for ads, then that's fine. Find another way to get leads. Organic content, DMs. Every marketing method you've ever heard of in your entire life still works, but it's contingent on the copy you use. So it doesn't work if your copy sucks, but don't blame the platform. So anyway, you guys are amazing. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you would, please rate the podcast on whatever platform you listen to. I do check that stuff out. It actually is really very fueling for me. I spend quite a bit of money to produce this show and all my content and get in front of you, so it means a lot to me. You have no idea. I'm like, are people liking this? So if you guys could rate and review, that'd be amazing. I actually really, really appreciate that. I do see it. And then second of all, if you want to learn more about what I'm talking about in this area, go to ckmlmhacks.com. Check out, we talk about this stuff on there. There's free training on there that is, it's on demand, so you don't have to wait for it or anything, but it'll walk you through how to think about this industry so that you can not treat it like a side hustle. You might have the time of a side hustle. You might have a lot of time, but you know, don't be the business, right? If you don't have any business systems, you're the business. And it's a lot of times why people struggle so much in network marketing, because they don't know what to do. Like, it's like Talladega Nights. I don't know what to do with my hands. Like, you run out of leads and it's like, okay, well, now what? Well, every business has 4 functions, right? Leads, sales, delivery, resell, upsell. You got to build those systems. And then suddenly you'll realize, oh my gosh, I have a business. But until you do, you're the business. That's why you have to go do making lists of friends and family. You know what I mean? That's why you have to be the one to go and do all the sales, right? That's why you have to be on tap and on call to go and do delivery of stuff and work. You know what I mean? Like, until you have the systems, you're the system, and it's why people burn out. And so this is so funny. It's this facade. It's totally a mirage to think that you're going to go out and be this is passive income. Well, not until you have the business systems in place. It's not passive at all. And you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, you guys are amazing. Hopefully you guys like this episode. Please let me know what you think about it. Go to secretmlmhacks.com. Check that out. And then if there's any other question that you want asked on the show, these were written in, but I'm hoping that you're down to drop voicemails to me and I will put them in the show. Go to secretmlmhacksradio.com. There's a little button there and it'll record a voicemail that I can put straight into the show. So you guys...
Hey, thanks for listening. Please remember to subscribe and leave feedback for me. Do you have a question you want answered live on the show? Go to secretmlmhacksradio.com to submit your question and download your free MLM Masters Pack.